What's up, everybody? Joe here from Podcast Rock City, and I'm sitting across from, let's be fair, most of you guys listening right now have sat on your couch at some point, especially if you're my age, sitting there in high school, or maybe by the time I might have been married by the time, watching 120 Minutes, listening to a very iconic voice. As soon as you hear, you don't even have to see a face, and you know that voice, and that voice belongs to Matt Pinfield. How you doing, Matt?
Hey, what's going on? It's so good. I love your podcast, and it's really great to be here with you because, I got to tell you guys, I'm such a huge Kiss fan and have been since I was a kid, and I just think it's so great to be here. And thank you so much for watching over the years.
Oh,
I appreciate
absolutely.
it.
So let's talk. Obviously, we're going to talk about Kiss. You're a huge Kiss fan. And I'm going to get to a few things. We got 15 minutes. Here we go.
All right, yeah.
How did you discover Kiss?
All right, I discovered Kiss because there was a kid when I was in 7th grade. There was a really cool kid. He was like a big kid from Liverpool, England. He was like redhead from Liverpool, looked more Scottish than English. He moved there when he turned me on. He had Slade records, Gary Glitter records. I was already into Bowie. So he turned me on to Slade and Gary Glitter, but he also had the first Kiss album. And he had just gotten this record, and I looked at it and went, holy shit, that's scary looking. I was 11. I saw Gene Simmons with his crazy looking on the cover. So I borrowed it and took it home. And then once I did that, I won the first album on the Burke. But actually, the first one I paid for was Hotter Than Hell. So I bought Hotter Than Hell. So I fell in love with all those songs. Got to choose Parasite, Going Blind, Hotter Than Hell, Let Me Go Rock and Roll, that's side one. Right? I love all that. Yeah, And I love everything on that record. Coming Home, all the stuff on there, All the Way, Mainline. I just love that record. And then I had the first record. So I remember I was a kid in, I guess, 8th grade when Dressed to Kill came out. So Dressed to Kill and then Alive around the same time. And then eventually Destroyer, which I remember the moment I brought that home, and we were in my bedroom, me and my friends in the neighborhood, and we heard Detroit Rock City, and we were like, oh shit, this is the coolest thing ever. We were like blown away by that song, and love that record in such a big way. Still do. Love King of the Nighttime World and fucking Sweet Pain, everything on there. That's how I ended up discovering Kiss. So you can imagine that later on, getting to know them and narrating the Second Coming documentary was like just a big thing for me.
How'd you get that gig? I remember, so obviously we all knew you from 120 Minutes. You weren't Ricky Rockman, which, we would have thought the metal guy or the rock guy would have done this, but 120 Minutes was rock music. But yeah, how did you get that gig?
Well, a lot of people don't realize that I was like, before alternative, it was rock and classic rock. So I was always into hard rock and metal. Before the punk thing even happened, I'd already seen Judas Priest, Cheap Trick, UFO, Rush, Stars, all these bands that I just loved. Aerosmith, Queen. I saw them do Night at the Opera in a theater, when I was a little kid. But my brother took me. I was always a rock fan, but people didn't thought of me as one thing until they realized this. So what really happened was behind the scenes at MTV, Alex Coletti, who produces the MTV Unplugged, walked into my office because I was in the MTV music department too, right? I was one of the only VJs ever who was actually a guy who helped pick the videos. And so, which was a great thing because I came from a background radio. But I'll just speed it up for you so it's, I'll tell you, he walks in my office and goes, Matt, what's wrong with your music department, man? They don't think Kiss is worthy of an Unplugged. I go, what? I go, who said that? And he goes, your bosses, your other people in your department. I go, let's go talk to him. And then so I go in the office, and I literally sat down and I said, I hear you guys don't think Kiss is worthy of an Unplugged. They go, well, do people really care? I go, yeah, they do, because every record goes gold without any promotion, just with their initial core fan base. So I put it in numbers for them, and I said, look, if 500,000 households watch that in the first night, that's a great rating for a cable channel, right? And so eventually they agreed to do it. And because Gene and Paul knew it was Alex and I that fought for it to get done, they took me and Alex Coletti, the director of Unplugged, out to dinner. So it was me, and when they were managed by Lieber Krebs, the old Aerosmith managers, for like 5 minutes before they were with Dr. McGee. So so we have dinner, and I get to ask them questions about. I go, why does Hotter Than Hell sound so muddy? Even though I love it, it's like sounds like an air conditioner was turned on. I go, compared to the first record, it sounds really clean. And Gene looks at me and goes, man, we didn't know what we were doing. It was like Kenny and Richie were the guys. producing the record. He goes, we were just, I go, because it's weird how one sounds better than the other.
You're right.
But I don't care. Even when it's grit, I love Hotter Than Hell. Like, I don't care if it sounds like an air conditioner got turned on when you start those chords, a Parasite or Got the Juice It Opens. So anyway, fast forward a little bit. Obviously, they reunited at that time.
Right.
And so they knew what Kiss fans I was. And so I get a call from Gene going, hey, man, we're doing this documentary from our reunion tour. It's going to be called Second Coming. We want you to narrate it. So we negotiate, and and it's very, it's not a lot of money, but I do it because I love Kiss. So I did that for them. I narrated the thing. But what happened was, it's a crazy story. I was narrating it in MTV in their studios in between like TRL and rock shows. And my rock shows, Mount Rock, which was like a Headbangers Ball that I did, and that 120. And so I didn't have it to picture, even though I had video. So I was just winging it on a DAT. And then and this is a great story because I send it in and they go, hey, those 350 lines, 432 didn't match up. I'm like, really? I wonder how that happened. I'll try them over. Send them to me. Send me which ones. And so they send them again, and then I finished those, and there were only 3 lines that didn't match up for the third time. This happens to be while I'm in LA. Kiss headquarters is here. Tommy Thayer, is there, and Tommy reaches out and goes, hey, there's 3 more lines that have got to be done. And it was the same weekend. It was a surreal weekend for me because it's also when Ben Stiller dressed up as me in the VMAs and did all those things.
Okay, yeah.
So and now I'm gonna get to hang out with I'm gonna get this. I don't even realize at this point I'm gonna be singing with Kiss. So the thing is, I go and I cut those 3 lines. Gene wants to take me out. He picks me up in the Lincoln Navigator that Paul bought him for his birthday. We go and we eat steak frites. So we have a steak and French fries, me and Gene. We're driving over to Cole's, the rehearsal space, and he's we're talking about The Move and some of the other stuff they listen to on Things from England. He goes, man, you really do know all your shit about all that music. And so we're there, we're waiting for Paul to show up. And so Ace and Peter are in the parking lot, and they're like, hey, where you guys been? And she goes, fuck, I was taking that out to lunch, man, whatever. And he goes, all right, cool. So we're all hanging out. Paul doesn't show for a while. The guy shows up with the Love Gun boots that they wore on the Psycho Circus tour, right? Gene makes me get in his boots, and I'm a short dude, right? I almost buckle and break my ankle. And he goes like, I've been walking around in those for 2.5 hours a night. And so this dream comes true because what happens is Paul's still not there. The guys are just sitting around or hanging. I see the set list on the mic stand. There's only 2 new songs on it, Psycho Circus and Into the Void. And I go, oh, man, a lot of classics on this list. He goes, you like that list? I go, yeah, man, I did so many of these songs, sang these when I was 14 in my band. He goes, you want to have a go? So I go, yeah. I go, what about Coming Home? And then Ace goes, stand over and he goes, I don't remember right now. I go, how about Rock Bottom? So we do Rock Bottom. They put on their instruments. I start singing Rock Bottom, and I got Peter and Gene singing back up. Peter's right behind me. I have a microphone facing the room. Ace is on my left. Gene is on my right. I'm singing Rock Bottom with 3 original members of Kiss. It's surreal. When I'm done with the first song, Gene goes, man, you really have a good voice. You have great control. You don't sound like you talk at all. He goes, nothing against your voice. I goes, but you want to do it? And so basically he goes, you want to do another one? And then Peter Cush yells out, do you love me? And that's when it got really surreal because the whole first verse is usually just Paul and the drums before the chorus comes in. So that was insane. It was like being a little kid in my room listening to Destroyer. So I sang it, and then they come in with the But Do You Love Me, and they're singing back up with me, and then they go, that was great, we want to do another one, and I'm like, how about 100,000 Years? I want to hear Ace rip that lead. Let's do it. And so we did 100,000 Years.
Oh, my God.
And we did a shorter version of it because I was laughing because she goes, people laugh at this story. It's really funny. I go, because I was, even though I love Alive, I was so familiar with the versions that was on the very first Kiss album of 100,000 Years,
right.
Like ingrained in my head because I hadn't listened to it live in quite a few years, but I like grew up with the first 3, like they're blueprinted in my mind. He stops and he starts to play. There's the drum solo. And he goes, "Do you feel all right?" And I go, "Studio version." She goes, "All right, come back here whenever you want." So then I did the "Sorry to Have Taken So Long, Must Have Been a Bitch While I Was Gone." and go into the song, and we finish it, and those guys goes, oh man, it was so much fun. And then Peter Criss gave me a pair of drumsticks. One of them I gave to Earl Brown, the actor from Deadwood, because he's a huge Kiss fan, and he and I were in a movie together. I met him on there, and we realized we're both Kiss fans, huge Kiss fans. So I gave him one of those Peter Criss drumsticks. And then they did Deuce, but their energy level came down because they were, it's like they've done it a million times. And then just the funniest thing in the world is Ace looks over at me and goes, you should come sing with us more often. You lit a fire under our ass there. And that was one of the greatest experiences of my life. I went back to my hotel that night. My girlfriend was there, became my second wife. And she goes, you're so wired up. What's going on? I'm like, I just sang with Kiss. I just sang 3 songs with Kiss. It was the most unbelievable experience ever for me.
That is one of the best stories I've ever heard. I love it.
Yeah.
I cannot believe that is an amazing story.
Yeah, it was life-changing. It's one of those things where you dream about as a child, but when it really happens, you're like, did that really just happen? And it was beautiful.
I don't have anything that even comes close to that.
Well,
I have time.
Yeah,
I have
sure
time.
Great stuff.
I did play one song on stage with Bruce Kulick.
That's cool.
Rock and Roll All Night.
That's awesome.
I did that one, but still to look over and see him playing that solo.
That's so
you're
great.
Like, oh, hell yeah. So all right, so let's talk about 2 more things. We're going to run out of time, I know. But all right, so 2 more things. One, when the A&E documentary was done, you watched it. What'd you think?
I thought part of it was. I thought parts of it were really good. I thought some of the advice and stuff was on it. I loved it. I knew the guys that did it. I definitely was. My friends were like, "You should have been in it more." I'm like, "Well, look, I'm in it at all. It's good." I'm
amazing. Still
I'm just
awesome.
still grateful to be in it. I love Kiss, and so for me, just to be in it at all, and I've narrated the Second Coming, is part of being in their history. I've always had such a great relationship with Gene and Peter, and all 4 of them I've gotten on very well with. So I've never gotten involved in any of the battles, and I've got respect for all 4 original members and all the members that came after them. You know what I mean? So I thought it would have been nice. I really wish that they could have come to terms with Ace and Peter being a part of it.
Yeah.
I'm glad they got to use some of Eddie's interview. I had a conversation with Eddie about that not that long ago. It was. I would have loved to seen them work that stuff out. You know what I mean?
Do you feel like they missed an opportunity?
I do. I think that Peter and Ace should have been there celebrating their history and just saying what they said, because it gives them more of an opportunity to set the record straight. I think at the end of the day, a lot of people look at things in so many different ways, and I think, there's 2 schools of thought when it comes down to the situation with the original members is, well, they should have as much say as the other 2 because they were the original members. And other people will say, well, if they weren't there for like 20 years, these guys have been in the trenches keeping it going. So there is that side of it too. So there's 2 schools of thought. Look, I love the guys. Nothing made me happier when I saw those guys, the 4 of them together again. But I've liked all the lineups, and they're still one of the greatest live bands in the world. Always have been.
Even now at 70.
They still are. Let me tell you. I went to that Whiskey A Go Go show, and it was unbelievable. It was just so great.
I would have loved
when he did Let Me Go Rock and Roll, I used to before there were boom boxes and before all that stuff. I would just be like in a boat with my father or somebody, and I'd have Let Me Know or something playing in my head from the first album. I remember that's how much I loved the band. So very, very important part of my life, and so I'm so grateful to have had those experiences with those guys. I hope that one day they'll be able to bury the hatchet before it's too late for one of them. You know what I mean? That's what I hope.
Yeah. 2 more things real quick. Do you think that's going to happen? Do you think that?
I've got my doubts. I don't want to say that it's going to happen. I don't want to be a downer, but.
This comes up on the show.
Yeah. I'd love to see it happen. Anything's possible. Certainly, people. Look, the Eagles, they said hell freezes over, remember? Those guys never expected to get together again, especially after, Gun Fry came after Don Felder. He wanted to beat him up on the stage. These things that happen, they, worked together for a while, but it didn't work out. It was similar to the Kiss reunion, where it worked out for a while, then it didn't, kind of thing.
Right.
But I would love to see it happen. I mean, of course, that would be a dream for me to see them play together, the four of them again. But I am grateful I got to go to those reunion shows and those two tours. For me, that was just so important.
Yep, no, I agree 100%. It was almost a little bit of closure.
Yeah.
Now, what Kiss announced yesterday that they're going to have a Vegas residency from December to February.
Yeah.
Where? I can't remember where, but so it's going to be 3 months or 2 or 3 months. So end of the road means exactly what we thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
Do you think Vegas is the perfect place for Kiss to wind up?
I think so. I think they still wanted, obviously, to do Shea Stadium because it was a dream for Gene and Paul to bring it all back home to New York, where they grew up as kids. But I think Vegas is a really, if you're going to end up anywhere, it's still a cool place. That's the funny thing that's great. Vegas is not the uncool place that it was when I was a kid growing up, where artists went that your parents liked and artists went to die. Yeah, they went to die, like that line. Now Vegas is thriving with a different. Not only that, but whether you like those bands or not, I mean, I certainly like the Killers. The Killers, Imagine Dragons, and Panic! At the Disco, all those bands are from there. They're exporting bands, which is interesting. That was never anything anybody ever thought.
Right,
somebody would come from Vegas. Right. You know what I mean? Besides Wayne Newton, you know what I mean? Who's a great guy, by the way. He's a really nice dude. But yeah, I love Kiss, so I don't care. I'll have to go see him as many times as I can. I will, whether it's no matter who's in the band, I will still go. I really wish it was Ace and Peter, but I also am cool with Tommy and those guys and just whoever it is. I love them. I mean, they're still, to me, one of the greatest bands ever. Their work ethic is unparalleled. The attitude of Gene and Paul always wanting to give the best show he can and give the fans what they really want is, to me, the yardstick that so many bands should manage their career by and actually use their advice. One of the best things about the Kiss story on A&E was when they said you can either be the victim or you can get yourself out of that place and situation in your life. And man, that was a brilliant thing when I heard him say that. I loved that. I really did. And it was cool. And it was funny. I got to be in it, and then I found out this friend Damon Starkey, who does like music for like film and TV show. He goes, dude, I got a call saying, hey, you know that music that you were doing stuff for? Because, you know, it wasn't the actual Kiss stuff, like there was certain incidental music in it.
Right.
My friend goes, oh, a guy called me up and said, hey, your boy Matt's also in this documentary. So my friend did a lot of the background music for Kiss Story, so I was watching it with him. I watched it at home, and then I was down in Florida visiting my daughter, and I watched it with him there. And I've seen it now a few times.
That is awesome.
And I think Second Coming was so much fun to do.
Second Coming is legendary. It's where I mean, everybody that got. First of all, when we got it, we had no idea what the behind the scenes what was really going on with the band.
Yeah.
So it was fun to watch because they took the fun parts, and then you narrating it. You're very calm, and your delivery. It always has been that way.
Yeah.
It's very comfortable. It's not, it's hype without having to be hype.
Yeah, and that's what Paul said. Paul actually told a friend of mine recently, he goes, Matt's a great narrator, man, which was a really nice compliment from Paul. I was grateful to hear that. I'm just glad they liked the job I did. And for me, it's a beautiful thing to be a part of Kiss history. That would have been more than enough for me. But to get to sing with them after that was surreal. So, I don't let anybody talk shit about Kiss. I'm like, dude, all I say to them is, they've made a childhood dream come true for me. I go, so that's, I couldn't help but love them for the rest of my life. I mean, that was one of the most important moments I'll always remember. And every artist I told about it after it happened were blown away. Like, you got to do it. Like, whether it's Tom Morello or Dave Navarro or guys from like every other rock band, we're just like blown away. Because I got the opportunity to sing with those guys.
Morello is a huge Kiss fan.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely.
Well, it was so super to meet you.
Yeah, it was great meeting you.
I really appreciate you coming on with us. And, I still cannot. I'm blown away by the story about him singing with kids.
I'll never forget it, And the only picture that exists was taken by Ace's daughter. You know what I mean? Because nobody had cell phones, so like nobody had camera phones
No,
back then.
that's true. That's true.
You know?
All right,
It was
so
amazing.
thank you for coming on. We really appreciate
Yeah.
it. This is the end of the Rockin' Pod for us. You got any more interviews to do, or is this it?
One more, and then I'm done.
One more,
but
and
it's
then you're
great.
done?
But I had a great time with you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you
This
very
was
much.
important. I'm so glad you asked me to do it because, you know, like I said, I love what you do, and Kiss is a very important part of my life. So.
Awesome. We're out of here, guys, in 3, 2, 1. Peace.